Coming up on the Tech Show this week, we take a look at that Sram GX AXS that was launched last week and see if it's worth it. Plus, we take a look back at some of the iconic helmet designs from Shoei Designs. I used to have a Daytona back in the day and I sold it. What an idiot. Plus, we've got some great bike caves from you guys this week, so let's get to it.
Okay, welcome to the show. Right, the topic this week is going to be talking about wireless shifting and electronic shifting. And is it even attractive to you? Would you want it on your bike or not? Now, unless you've been hiding under a rock, you will have noticed that Sram launched their GX AXS transmission last week. Now, this is a much cheaper offering than their top-end one that they launched a few years back. But don't confuse cheaper with cheap. It is most definitely not cheap. So you're talking 550 quid here in the UK to get yourself the derailleur with the battery, the setup gauges and all that stuff, and of course the shifter as an upgrade kit, if you like, which means anyone running SRAM 1x12 can bolt this on their bike and benefit from wireless shifting. Now, it's substantially cheaper than the top end level. So on that respect, actually it does represent good value, and for what it offers, I believe there is some really good features in here. But why is it you would want electronic shifting on a bike, full stop? Okay, well, let's go back to the basics here and think about this. The biggest issue you get with any shifting on a bike comes down to the inner cable and the outer cable. So anything routing from the bar, so you can get problematic shifting from the tension in there or the lack of tension, meaning you're not going to get accurate shifting. You can get ghost shifting with suspension designs moving around that hose. And of course, you can get loads of issues when it all just gets gunked up and a bit old. You get delays in shifting, constantly having to adjust your barrel adjuster as you get cable stretch in the system, all that sort of stuff. With electronic, that simply does not exist. Once you put one of these on and you set it up, that's it, it's done. It just works. Okay, so you've got a battery that needs charging, but that's 20 hours of use, so that's not really much of a concern. And the touch point up on the bars, well, SRAM say that's about 2 years of use, so really that's not a concern. And look how clean it looks. So you're losing all those, you're losing the extra cabling there. Look how clean the handlebar setup looks on this bike. And I've still got 3 cables there. Now, modern mountain bikes, they can look like a bit of a snake's wedding going on. It looks a right old state sometimes when you've got lockout levers, shift levers, dropper post levers. If you can remove some of that from the bike and restore how clean it looks, I'm kind of all for that. I think it's good. And then there's the quality of the actual shifting. It's instant, bang, 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 bang. Every punch a gear. Or depending on how you want to set it up, a punch could be 2 gears, 3 gears, whatever. Up and down shifting, you can change those touch points and things. I think it's really cool. And bringing it down to a more affordable price bracket, it's got to be a good thing. Now, I put a post up on social media and it caused a bit of a ruckus because some people didn't understand why it was expensive and who it was for. And some people got it straight away. So one chap actually commented on how he had really bad arthritis and how shifting is genuinely a problem. And this was like a revelation for him. So there's definitely benefits to be had from it. But are those benefits going to be for you? I mean, some people are going to be worried about having an expensive derailleur on the bike. Oh yeah, and I'm always breaking off derailleurs. Are you? Really? When was the last time you smashed a derailleur off your bike? Doesn't really happen. You kind of smash the bottom cage, if anything, which is replaceable. And well, look how tough this thing is. It's got an overload clutch in it. I'm quite happy to give it a kick, give it a bit of a smack of a stick. It's fine. It's designed to take the abuse. So you shouldn't be worried about these things, but do you actually want this on your bike? And actually, where is Shimano in all of this? Because Shimano launched their Di2 at the XTR level many years ago, it seems now, and Shimano typically brings stuff in at the top end and let it filter down. Now, we've seen amazing stuff from Shimano at their Dior level. So what are they going to be doing next? Are they going to be introducing cheaper? Are they going to be bringing in wireless? Who knows? Would you even want it? Let us know what you think of electronic shifting. Would you be interested? Let's not make this about the price because it's clearly for some people and not for others. Let's just talk about the tech. That's what this show is all about. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you even care?
More gadgets launched this week for you gadget lovers out there like myself. So these are the brand new Garmin Vector Rally XC pedals. So these are power pedals. So power meter built into these. All the clever stuff is within the axle. You can see if I spin it around, make it look like I'm on a bike. this will wake the pedal up and that will start flashing. It's kind of harder to do than you think. On the bike, it does it straight away. So yeah, I guess for those of you who aren't going to be training with power, these do seem like a very expensive set of pedals. They are, what are they, £1,059.99 or €1,199 for the top spec model. Because there are two different models. These are the XC200. So you've got left and right sensors. So dual sensors on these give you a power reading for both legs basically, give you loads of cycling dynamics as well. So it'll show you how much power you're producing and whether you're sat down, stood up. It'll even show you how your cleats are set up, so you'll know whereabouts your cleat is on your shoe, so you can mess around your setup to get it perfectly. Or you can buy these in a single sensor version, the XC100, which are cheaper. They are £620 or €699. So yeah, these are the top spec ones, like I say, with much more detail, I suppose. But got AMP Plus connectivity, so work with your head unit, Garmin or otherwise, so you can get into that data analysis, but also set them up. It also works with third-party platforms like Strava, Training Peaks, or even with your Zwift setup. So if you don't have a smart turbo trainer, you could use these instead. Now, one of the big advantages of having these pedals, I think, is for many people who are training with power, we're probably looking at more cross-country racers or enduro riders, then they're likely to ride a road bike as well. And the great thing about these is you could buy the different pedal chassis. So you could actually buy a road pedal chassis to go on here. So rather than, you know, what else could you could potentially have a power crank or a spider where they're kind of not really as swappable between bikes. You could just, it's as easy as servicing your pedals. You basically undo this, take this pedal body off and stick your road pedal on. Now you've got the Shimano SPD SL version or actually a Look pedal version. These mountain bike ones actually work with Shimano cleats. So easy to swap and basically have a set of road pedals and cross-country pedals for all your training needs. Of course, if you're not training with power, then these are going to seem like a very expensive set of pedals to you. Also available in replacement parts. So if, for instance, you damage one of your pedals, you could buy a left or a right replacement. And actually, all the clever stuff is in that axle, like I said anyway. So you're unlikely to damage that. You maybe just will damage that pedal body, but you can replace them relatively cheaply. They're €250, euros should I say actually, for the XC body as a pair, but also available separately. In last week's show, Doddy talked about that 100th anniversary of Shimano. We've talked about SRAM as well today. I think we're in a lucky place with mountain bike group sets components. We've got two of the sort of leading brands that are really pushing each other and producing some amazing kit between them. It kind of makes me think of like, it's like supercars, almost like Ferrari versus Lamborghini. One's sort of really dependable, I'd say Shimano. Sometimes takes a little bit longer to get to market with stuff, but it always works great. And SRAM, kind of like Lamborghini, kind of edgy, bit more of a youth culture, and making this kind of next level kit that really competes. And we're getting two brilliant sets of components. Anyway, I'm waffling on about stuff, but I think we're really lucky at the moment with Shimano and SRAM. Mark C. Oz says, no matter your preference of brand for drivetrain, etc., there are many companies that would not be doing what they're doing without the groundwork of Shimano. Yeah, exactly. And it started 100 years ago. Can you believe it? Isaac Brinklow says, so that's electronic Shimano gears confirmed then. Nice hinting, Doddy. Yeah, I saw that. I don't know anything about this, to be fair. Obviously, we've got Shimano electric, we've got Di2 already, but wireless, we've not seen an update for Di2 for a little while. Although I did see in the news last week that SRAM are trying to put in, I think they put in a patent for wired ETAP, which is their wireless electronic road gears. I think more that's on about e-bikes actually. They want to harness the big battery you have in an e-bike just to power everything. So that kind of makes sense, but going back to wires. Next one comes from, I don't know how to pronounce that name, I'm afraid. It looks like NOP to me, but I'm sure it's not. Shimano also gave us great fishing gear, the smoothest reels that they did. MSA Goo 29, my dad's got XTI M900 from 92. Shifters are still absolutely flawless. Love Shimano quality, yeah. I've got some really old Shimano kit. Some of that, well, it's still the same colour, I guess, but that lovely dark grey, I don't know what you call it, I'm sure Doddy would know, the rear mech from probably the late 90s that I've sort of got in a box in my house that I can't get rid of because it's just such a nice piece of kit. Mark Parrott says, I remember back in the mid-80s, the three big component folks, Campagnolo, Shimano and Suntour. Yeah, Suntour. Shimano was what we all wanted. None of us could afford the campy stuff. Yeah, it's still super expensive now. And no one wanted the ST stuff, Suntour. Great history lesson, thank you. Suntour still making stuff, but yeah, you don't see much of it around nowadays, group sets at least. And then talking about whether access brakes are possible, Carlos Holzbach says, yes, they're already out there in cars like the last NSX, that'd be a Honda, I think, NSX, and the new Corvette C8. They feel amazing, that's what journalists say, and they're better against fade on air in the line since the pump can be pressurised beyond the master cylinder could do. But I can't see this being employed on two wheels because of the weight of the system. Interesting stuff. But I guess even those things like Honda NSX, they must be looking into weights. I know they've got larger margins to play with, but they're still trying to make those cars as light as they can. But yeah, interesting stuff. We've talked about this in Dirt Shed in the past about having completely wireless shifters and brakes. Possible. Someone will do it eventually, I'm sure of it.
Okay, let's jump into Rewind then, which is the retro part of the show. If you have anything old school, let us know, show us. There's a link right there, takes you through to our uploader service, and you can upload pictures, video clips, and tell us all about it, and we will put it on the show. So this week, we've actually been sent something pretty special. This is a 1995, well actually it's 1998, but they came out in 95, a Troy Lee Daytona helmet. Now we'll look at this in a minute. I want to just go back to the beginning of this story, and we're going to look at the Shoei RC3. So on screen right now, you can see the Shoei TL Comp RC3 helmet. Now, in the early 90s, there wasn't really much in the way of cool mountain bike helmets. We used to use basically road cycling helmets, and they used to be these huge polystyrene things that used to make you look like Magic Mushroom from Super Mario Brothers. Just horrendous looking things. And this helmet on screen again, the RC3, was something being developed by Shoei, but it didn't have a peak at the time. Now, they're having a problem breaking the market with the helmet, and they showed it to Troy Lee, who looked at it and instantly saw the potential. He was like, let's get a peak on that, let's get some cool graphics on it, it will look moto, it's gonna look cool. So they did, and he did, and everyone wanted to buy the helmet. Now, arguably, one of the riders that made the helmet really iconic to start with was Greg Herbold. Now, this is Greg's helmet on screen. The iconic one he used, I think, at the very earliest Mountain Bike World Championships. Super cool with the white and the neon colours, very fitting for the early 90s there. Now, also, other riders started to take to the helmet design because it looked very mountain bike, and the fact it had a plastic shell on there with an EPS construction on the inside just made it a lot tougher than anything else that was currently available, and it definitely had that unique MTB identity that nothing else had at the time, so people really craved it. But people wanted a bit more from it, and so Troy took the production of this in-house. They put it over into America, and they developed a jaw guard that could bolt onto the helmet, and the jaw guard was called the Race Face. And to be fair, it wasn't fit for much, or good for gravel rash and things like that, but it was definitely a look at the future, and the shape of that jaw, you can see how that progressed through to what we have today from the Troy Lee Designs range. And in fact, arguably, it's influenced all mountain bike downhill helmets. Actually, the shape of the jaw guard is completely pivotal. Some early helmets like the Gyro Mad Max, it didn't have it right. Their jaw guard was all droopy and just looked weird, but Troy Lee nailed it. So they released the Edge as the Troy Lee Edge, no longer having the Shoei name, when they produced it in the US. And riders using that included Miles Rockwell with this one, Dave Cullinan with this one, the coolest tabletops ever in mountain biking from that man. We're going to be talking about him on a very cool video at some point soon. And of course, Brian Lopes, when he was using it under the Mongoose banner. Now, it's one of the most influential helmets ever. Super cool. And although it wasn't the best as a full face helmet, you could definitely see where things were going. And by the mid-90s, Troy released this bad boy, the Daytona. So a full carbon fibre helmet, looking just like something out of like motocross stuff, just looked insane. Now, it came with this shorter peak on there, but actually a lot of riders preferred to fit the Stingray peak, which is an aftermarket peak, giving it that cool, real moto look. So you might remember Steve Peat used to use his helmet, Sean Palmer, in fact, Palmer up there, Palmer used to use one of these helmets. Just so cool, achingly cool, but it was super expensive when it came out. But for some reason, people didn't mind that. The full carbon design, the motocross styling, the graphics, everything about it was just leagues ahead of where everyone else was at the time. And I've got to say a huge thank you to Reese Wheeler, Recycles, by the way. There's an Instagram link under there. Please give him a follow. He's got some really cool retro stuff on there. So if you like retro, there's going to be a link in the description underneath. He kindly sent us this helmet, which he's got for himself for his own personal collection. And it looks like it's never even been used. I can't believe the condition of this thing. But super cool to see it. But note the shape of the jaw guard and how the jaw guard took the shape from that early Edge helmet there. And then of course that progressed on. It must have been like late 90s, I think, when the D2 came around. Actually, what have I written down here? I better check my notes. About 2000, yeah. So it was available in carbon and composite. So they addressed the pricing issue by having a heavier but cheaper option and the carbon option. This one was a history design. This wasn't one of the earliest ones, but it's still the same shape. And you can see by looking at the jaw guard there where the influence came from. And this helmet really is where the styling started to really come on. They came with a bigger peak as standard. They were much lighter, incredibly comfortable. Probably at the time the most comfortable full face helmet. It was certainly the one that everyone wanted to use. Removable liner on the inside, got the D-ring buckle on there, and just insanely cool. And of course, much later down the line, I think 2015, 2016, they introduced the D3, which was the much burlier version, which really reflected where the sport was going. I mean, look how much bigger the jaw guard is, even though it does have that same kind of shape on there. Again, carbon options, composite options, and it's got styling that you see from motocross helmets where you can pull out the cheek pads, so better for paramedic access to the helmet, just stronger and safer. And of course now they're up to the D4, so they've just had so much cool progression over the years. But I've got to say, this early jaw guard shape has been so influential in full face helmet design. Any cool looking helmet, the jaw guard will be tipping up at the front and almost inwards. It has a very specific shape that just looks aggressive and it looks right. I absolutely love them. I think they're so cool, but all nodding back to this Daytona helmet. I think that is one of the very coolest things I've seen in a long time. So big ups to Reese. Again, thank you so much for sending this in. I absolutely love it. I think it's great. Awesome stuff. If you've got anything cool for Rewind, send it in to us, or send us some images, some video clips of you talking about it on your phone. The link again is right there at the bottom of the screen. Okay, and it looks like we've also got time to jump into Bike Cave. So if you've got a bike workshop like this, or you've got a cool garden shed, or in fact, even if you've got a ropey garden shed, anywhere where you keep your bike is great with us. So share it. Share the love. There's a link right there. There's another one in the description underneath, and we can see what you've been doing. So the first one, I've got to say, is one of the most impressive bike caves I've ever seen. So the first shot, as you can see, is just an empty garden with nothing in it. So you can see where this one's going, can't you? So just want to get these details up here, and there'll be images flying past on screen. So this is from Jack in Inverness. Hi Doddy, here's my bike cave, car cave. It's taken far too long and cost far too much money. That's only money though, isn't it? It's like, if it really makes you happy, and that is actually the most important thing, within reason, of course. With the cars multiplying and the bikes being N+1, me and my other half needed some more room. So we went overboard and built this massive garage. The foundation is specified to take a 4-poster ramp, which will be coming in the future. Wow, so you really are into your cars then. It's fully insulated and sheeted with substation grade plasterboard. Every single job apart from the rendering was done by me and my girlfriend, including building the doors. I'll tell you what, that's pretty inspirational stuff, seeing that. And those doors look phenomenal. That is such a good job. Gotta say, that is really, really cool. And there it is, nearing completion. Two bikes in the back, 2 cars in there, big skylights in there, loads of lighting on the ceiling. Oh my God, look at it now with the rendering done. Wow. Oh my God, that is awesome. So cool. Wow, you seriously like your cars with all those number plates on the wall. Really good to see. And judging by the amount of bike fixings you've got, now you've got quite a few bikes as well. You've got a bit of a problem. Best problem to have, but really cool. Yeah, so you've got your tool bench down the back there in the corner. Looks like you've got some sort of compressor, water stuff. You've got your hydraulic jack, your park work stand, laptop in there as well. Loads of Auto Glim products, so you love looking after your cars. And now the complete opposite end of the spectrum. This is probably the smallest bike cave we've ever seen, and I think this is just genius. So this one's from James in Nottingham. Doddy, I'm loving this show. Just before this COVID stuff hit, I moved into my girlfriend's tiny flat. I say tiny, he wrote small. In doing so, obviously I wanted to bring my bike. However, her flat has no garage or outside area and only has 2 rooms. So to keep her happy and avoid having to store my bike outside in the van, I built this stowaway behind the sofa. It's a bit of a downgrade from my garage at the parents' house, but it means I can ride even if it does mean washing thoroughly and taking the bike apart every time I go for a ride. Hey, that's fine. That's no problem cleaning the bike. It means your bike's always going to be in the best condition. I'm so impressed with the space. You've got the shelf on the wall, giving you like a little cavity there, and then the sofa backs up against it. So you've got a false wall basically, and the bike's hidden in there. Look at that, you wouldn't even know. That is absolute genius, and super well done, James, for being mega diplomatic, looking after your girlfriend's needs. That's super cool. I'm well impressed with that. Great stuff. So 2 completely different bike caves there. Can you do better or worse? Send them in again. We'd love to see them. Okay, so that's the end of this week's show. Hopefully you enjoyed the ride. And what do you think of all these consumer electronics getting a bit cheaper and a bit more available then? So don't forget to pick up the conversation in the comments underneath, and we'll see you on next week's show. See you later.